So there I was, once again, knee deep in another indie city builder, telling myself, I'll just play for 30 minutes. And 4 hours later, my villages were starving, my dog looked like a chaotic IKEA warehouse, and the soundtrack was still spinning in my head. Hey everyone, welcome back to For Games and Fun. Today we're talking about Havendock, a cozy, slightly chaotic colony sim where Raft cashes into RimWorld and decides to just vibe. I got a review code for Havendock, but as always, I'm going to be honest about what works, what doesn't, and whether this is something you should actually spend your time and money on. So let's dive in. As your population grows, so does your to-do list. That's where the tech tree comes in, and this is honestly one of Havendock's biggest strengths. The research system starts out simple, unlocking basics like better food, housing, and utility buildings, and then slowly escalates into like full water world meets factorial territory. You go from basic survival tools to some point you are not just boiling water or grilling fish, you're juggling factories, advanced stations, weird machinery, and entire sub-areas that are open to new resource ecosystem. What I really like is how the progression feels both guided and open. There's a questline giving you objectives so you don't get totally lost, but it still leaves you room for you to mess up, overbuild, unprepare, and learn from your mistakes. The tech tree is big enough that you can absolutely research things out of order, in terms of what your colony really needs, then realize hours later that you skipped something crucial like automatic nest or more efficient source production. Sometimes the game is guilty of pushing you into flashy stuff before your foundations are solid. You get a quest that nudges you towards cosmetic or less important buildings while more essential upgrades are buried in a little deeper in the tree. But the built-in encyclopedia does a lot of the heavy lifting. It tells you what each game is, how to get it, and where it fits into your production chains. For a genre that usually expects you to alt up in a community week every 5 minutes, that in-game reference is a huge plus. All of this will fall flat if the core loop wasn't fun, and this is where Havendock really nails it. It's ridiculously addictive. This is one of those games where you constantly tell yourself, okay, I'll just finish the next research, and suddenly it's 2 a.m. and your villagers are still yelling at you about food, but you're vibing because the soundtrack is still talking in your head. The pacing is tuned to keep you chasing the next little improvement. A better building, a more efficient layout, a new island to reach, the next tech you're just few materials away from unlocking. At the same time, Havendock finds the middle ground between cozy and overwhelming. There's no shark chewing your base in half, there's no waves of enemies hitting you every 5 minutes. The danger is more mundane, like hunger, thirst, exhaustion, injuries, or your own bad planning. If you let things snowball, you can absolutely crash your colony. But you rarely feel attacked by the game. It's more like you're wrestling with your own logistics than fighting some external villain, and that makes the great 1 more hour kind of time sink. Visually, Havendock leans into a cute, almost toy-like style. Simple characters with dotted eyes, bright colors, charming buildings, and surprisingly nice lighting on the water. It looks cozy without needing a high-end hardware. And when your dock is sprawling with farms, houses, machines, lights, goofy decorations like gazebo and disco floors, it really feels like a little world that you built. Not everything about the presentation is perfect though. Some players are going to bounce off the UI, menus can feel cluttered, a bit kinda like a mobile game from 2013. There's a lot of information crammed into the screen, but once you get used to it, it's functional. But it's definitely not the cleanest or most intuitive interface of the genre. On the audio side, well, the soundtrack is catchy, upbeat, it's a guitar-driven loop that fits the playful tone really well. The flip side is really a loop. So if you're sensitive to repetition, you might find yourself turning the music down after a couple of hours and throwing a podcast instead. Still, for a lot of people, it's exactly the kind of cozy background noise that glues the experience together. So who is Havendock actually for? Well, if you love hardcore punishing colony scenes where one mistake wipes out the entire town and you spend half of your time reading spreadsheets, this might feel a little too forgiving or whimsical. If you can't stand micromanagement or juggling menus, the combination of characters control movement and hands-on situation management might drive you crazy. But if you're into cozy, time-sink builders with a bit of complexity under the cute exterior, this hits a nice spot. It's more approachable than something like RimWorld or Factorial, but deeper and more involved in the super casual farming sim. It's one of those games where you slowly build a floating empire, and even when everything is going wrong, there's still something really relaxing about trying to fix it. For me, Havendock is a really good game and I recommend it to my friends. I love the addictive loop of it. I like the silly personalities, the huge research tree, and the feeling of turning a single lonely platform into a buzzing ocean city. What I don't like so much is the clunky UI and the sometimes derpy settlers AI, but none of that stops me from sinking way more hours into it than I planned. So that's my take on Havendock. It's a cozy survival colony mashup that equals parts charming, chaotic, and dangerously addictive. If you're still on the fence, there's a free demo on Steam, so you don't have to pay a penny, you can still try it out. And if you already played it, let me know in the comments below. Tell me about the colony. Did it become a well-oiled machine? Or is it a flirting disaster held together with duct tape and penguin poop? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review and want to support the channel, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so that way you don't miss any future reviews or playthroughs, alright? And if you're really enjoying the content and want to go the extra mile, consider buying me a coffee. It helps a ton with these reviews. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace!